Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to look at the topic the business letter. However, this video will seek to give an overview about the business letter, but I'll be going in greater details with each type of business letter in subsequent videos. Now, what exactly is the business letter? A business letter is a formal document often sent from one company to another or from a company to its clients, employees, and stakeholders. Now, stakeholders are basically persons or organizations who have an interest within a business. So it could be apart from clients and employees, it could be suppliers or the government. Now we need to look at the structure of a business letter in order to appreciate it a bit better. Now the business letter consists of the following parts in the order in which they appear. It starts off with the letterhead that is normally found in the header of the document. Sometimes a company, nowadays the companies are placing their letterhead in the header, but how you would have learned about letter preparation years gone back, where you can also put this information outside of the header, but it's the first thing that is written on the document. It starts off with the sender's name followed by the return address. Now the sender's name can either be the name of a person or a company, and the return address has embedded in it the location of the business as well as the telephone and fax numbers and the email address or website if there are any. This is followed by the reference. Now the reference is made up of characters that are used to identify, locate, and file the correspondence. Our reference, written as our ref, consists of the writer's initial and those of the typist. Example, DBW/JD. The reference may sometimes include details of a file number or customer's account number, as you see in the example. The reference shown on any incoming letter should be included in the letter of reply against the words your ref. So if it is that we're typing a letter, you will normally see our ref on it. And if it is that you get a document to type and there's one reference, that one reference will normally be our reference, right? Sometimes you see the word our ref or you will just see the word reference. But that is from the perspective of the organization. And if it is that we are responding to a letter that was sent to our organization by another organization, then we'll normally use the term your reference or your ref. And this will indicate that we are making reference to the document that was sent to us by their organization. Alright, next we will have the date. And the date must always be typed on a letter, even if you are not given instructions to include it. In such cases, a current date is used. So if you go into the exam, for instance, and you're supposed to be typing a letter, a document that needs to have a date, and you're not seeing a date on it, use the current date. Make sure you put it on it. Alright? There can't be a letter without a date. That is of key importance. So ensure that if you're typing it, you use the current date, which would have been the date of your exam. Following that, we have something known as special instructions, or mailing or addressee notation. And this basically is any special instruction that we want to pass out to persons, such as personal, private, confidential, urgent, or anything of the sort. Alright, and this should be typed above the name and address of the recipient. Now we'll have the inside name and address, otherwise known as the recipient's name and address. This is the name and address of the individual or organization to whom the letter is being sent, and it should always be included. These details are usually typed above the salutation. The attention line. Now, some business organizations like all correspondence to be addressed to the company rather than to individuals. In such cases, It is usual to include an attention line to ensure that the letter is directed to the appropriate department or individual. Example, for the attention of Mrs. J. Samuel, Sales Department, or attention of Mr. Garner Maxwell. Now, this is very important, right? Because as was said earlier, sometimes the correspondence may be addressed to a company and not to a specific individual. And if it is that this document gets to that organization, then having an attention line will zoom in on who exactly should peruse this document. Sometimes you'll also have some documents going to an educational institution, and as such it will be addressed to the principal. However, it is not intended for the principal per se, but may be intended for the guidance counselor or a specific department. And as such, the attention line is key in directing the principal in knowing who should get this correspondence. We now look at the salutation. Now, this basically is the opening word of greeting in a letter, and it comes in many forms according to the type of letter that is being typed. Alright, so we have the formal and the informal letter. Right, the formal letter is otherwise known as the business letter and is suitable for official or professional communication, and this follows a set format. We will have the informal letter, otherwise known as a personal letter, that is more casual or personal, right, and does not have a set structure. Now here we have the information as it relates to the formal letter. Now the two ways of addressing a formal letter. We have where we know the person who we are sending the letter to, or where we do not know the person to whom the letter is being addressed. So if we do not know the name of the person to whom the letter is being addressed, there are certain salutations that are used. So we use dear sir when we're speaking about one person who is a male, dear madam, one person who is a female, dear sir or madam, one person whose gender is not known, example the principal. Then we have dear sirs, where two or more males of an organization are being referred to. We have ladies, where two or more females of an organization are being referred to. We use the term gentlemen when we're speaking about males of a club or association. Now, when we do know the names of the person to whom this letter is being addressed, we use the term dear Mr. Reed if it's a male. We use the term dear Mrs. Scott if it's a married female. Dear Miss Walker if the female is not married. And dear Miss MS Clark if the marital status is unknown. And please note the distinction between MISS versus MS. We use MISS for Miss if the female is not married. But if we do not know the female is married or not, we use the abbreviation MS, which is the same Miss, but written differently if the marital status is unknown. Now we look at the informal salutation. So some informal salutations, and remember these are used now for personal or casual letters. Dear Mr. Smith, dear Miss Brown, Miss Daly, Miss Frank, dear customer, dear Hopetoun, or my dear Hopetoun. Now following the salutation, we will have the subject heading. A subject heading is sometimes used to help the reader to identify the content of the letter and to help in filing or in finding a particular letter in a correspondence file. So it allows the person to zoom in on the key point of this letter. By reading the subject heading, you are able to know what the body of the letter is all about. And that will take us now to the body of the letter, which consists of the message to be conveyed. It is typed in paragraphs, which includes the opening introduction, the main message, and the closing. Following that, we will have the complementary clause. Now, the most commonly used form of complementary clause are yours faithfully, yours truly, yours sincerely, and sincerely yours. Now, please note that the complementary clause goes with the salutation. So you do not just attach yours faithfully or yours sincerely to a letter just because you feel like writing that at that time. You have to look at what their salutation is and use the complementary clause that goes along with it. So I have here, yours faithfully should be used where the formal salutation, for example, dear sir or dear madam, begins the letter. Letters that start with a person's name, example, dear Mr. White, usually ends with yours sincerely or sincerely yours. And then we reserve yours truly for circular letters, although yours truly can still be used. But I realize that for a couple of years now, exam prefer you to write yours faithfully rather than yours truly for such letters. Alright, so let me go through that again. When you do not know the name of the person that the letter is being addressed to, where you use their salutation, dear sir or dear madam or dear sirs, you use the complementary clause, yours faithfully. And when you know the name of the person to whom the letter is being addressed, you use yours sincerely or sincerely yours. Hopefully that helped. Now, following the complementary clause, we will have the complementary clause for the informal letter, right? So that was for the formal. For the informal letter now, some complementary clause that are used: best wishes, kindest regards, regards, best regards, or cordially. And you have some very formal letters, and we'll use the terms yours sincerely, respectfully yours, or respectfully to close off with those. Now, immediately following the complementary clause, we will have the name of the organization. Now, this is optional as not all letters will have it. We will then have 4 to 6 spaces based on the length of the letter, and then we'll have the signature of the writer. Now, this section is usually signed by the person writing a letter, or the letter is signed by someone authorized to sign in place of the writer. The signatory or name of the writer comes next, and this is because it is very difficult to decipher some signatures, and so it is usual to type the name of the person signing the letter. Following that, we'll have the designation or job title and department. This should be typed immediately below the name. However, it is optional. The enclosure notation or attachment comes next. Attention is drawn to any material to be enclosed with the letter by typing an enclosure notation. The abbreviation ENC, ENCL, or ATT is used. Now, please note that for exam purposes, for example, you are given a letter, and a letter will not always say to you to write the enclosure. But if it is that you are drafting a letter and you realize from the body of the letter that it is stated that something should be attached, then that should be a clue that you are expected to put an attachment at the bottom of the letter. Alright, so please note that, because you normally will get marks for that. So it may not be stated to you to do it, but if it is alluded or made mention of in the body of the letter, then you are expected to have an attachment at the end of your letter. Now we look at the copy notation. A courtesy copy notation showing the distribution of the letter appears below the enclosure notation. CC meaning copy to or copies to. Now, all persons receiving the letter in addition to the addressee are listed with that. And I have an example here: CC, Brittany Allen, Moya Witter, which simply means that apart from the person who is assigned to receive this letter was also sent to these 2 additional persons. And finally, we'll have something known as a postscript. Now, postscripts, basically additions to the letter after it has been typed or items needing emphasis, appears below the last line of courtesy copy notation. The initials PS or PPS are used. I will now look at the format of the business letter. and bring into consideration all that I've just mentioned a while ago. Alright, here I have an outline of a business letter, starting off with the sender's name and return address. And as you see, this is not written in the letterhead. However, it is written, the first thing that is written on the document. Alright. However, I have a video teaching you how to do a letterhead, and I'll attach that at the end of this video, because for this subject you are taught to do these letters with a letterhead. Following that, we have the reference, right? And you realize that there's only one reference here, so this is our reference. The date follows, followed by the addressee notation. This one says urgent. The addressee name, the principal, and the address. The attention line, the salutation, dear sir, followed by the subject heading. Alright, note also the document is spaced, and I'll be teaching you in my next video how to construct these business letters with the appropriate spacing. So do not worry about how you're seeing the document right now. Everything will come together once we start typing. So we have the paragraph, followed by the complementary clause. Immediately after that, we have the name of the organization, which I said was optional. We would then have 4 to 6 spaces based on the length of the letter. Then you'll have the signature. Then we have the name of the writer, the job title, the department that the person is a part of, the reference initials, the enclosure notation, the copy notation. So it is said that apart from the principal that this document is addressed to, the sales manager will also have gotten a copy of it. And finally, we have the postscript, right, which is something additional that was not stated in the body of the letter. And from this example, it says a special room should be made available for the demonstration. All right, so that is basically an entire letter that is typed. All right, so now that we have gone through the entire structure of the business letter, we now need to know what margins to use in constructing it. Now I have here 2 paper sizes, A4 and A5, and the margins that are used. So for the A4 paper, we have the top margin can be 1 or 2 inches. The left margin can be 1 or 1.5 inches. The right and the bottom margins are 1 inch. But if it is that you think that you may not remember how to construct these margins when it's time for you to do your document, right? The question will normally tell you, but if it doesn't, then you can use 1 inch all around, or 1.5 left and 1 inch everywhere else, top, right, and bottom. And for the A5 paper, right, 0.5 inch or 1 inch for the top, 1 inch or 0.75 for the left, 1 inch or 0.5 for the right, bottom 1 inch. If you think you will not be able to remember this, right, then you can use 1 inch all around. All right. Now I'm going to look at the layout of a business letter. Now there are 3 main styles of layout in the current use of business letters. We have the blocked style, otherwise known as the fully blocked style, and this is the most modern, simple, and effective layout, where all the elements are aligned to the left margin. The example that was just shown to you was an example of the blocked style. We then have the semi-block style, that is partially blocked with some of the elements aligned to the right or the center of the page. And finally, the indented style letter, where the first line of each paragraph is indented with certain elements being placed in the left margin or in the center of the page. Well guys, that is it on the basic overview of the business letter. I'll be doing other videos to now teach you about the various layouts of the business letter, the blocked, semi-blocked, and indented style. I do hope you learned a lot here today, and see you in my next upload. But do not forget to like, share, and to subscribe to my channel if you have not yet done so. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.